Joyce Weiss, communication strategist and coach, and welcome to Communicate with Impact. I heard today's guest when he wowed the audience at the National Speakers Association of Michigan, when we learned lots of techniques and strategies, not only about sales, but also communication and conflict. I went up to him, the guest, and I said, one of these days you've got to come on Communicate with Impact. And he was so gracious. He said, call me anytime. And then I just read his brand new book, and there are so many techniques in there. I called him up again and said, would you come on the show? And guess what? Let me introduce today's guest. He is here. What do you get when you combine years of studying the key dynamics of communication, decision-making, leadership, and sales? You get someone who wrote a #1 best-selling book in the categories not only of sales and selling, but also business leadership, and he is our guest today. Welcome, Steve Lishansky, who happens to be founder of Optimize International. He shared his highly effective principles with executives from more than 40 countries, including companies such as MetLife, Johnson & Johnson, Fidelity Investments, and Cisco, to name only a few. Steve is an experienced CEO and business leader who founded and led 2 fast-growing multi-million-dollar businesses. His new book, The Ultimate Sales Revolution, Sell Differently, Change the World, was named by Inc. magazine as one of the top 10 sales books of 2015 and by Amazon as one of 3 highest rated sales books of all times. Put your seatbelts on, folks, and get ready to learn some fantastic strategies and insights to get your results up in sales, communication, and conflict. So, welcome, Steve.
Joyce, it's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you so much.
And I'm going to hold up your book so that my readers can see. Very, very powerful book. And you actually published it. Was it? Tell me a little bit about your book, and then I've got some questions for you.
Well, the book is really based on 20 years of work all over the world. And one of the key backgrounds for me is what I call a phenomenologist. That's a weird term. But what it basically means is my passion has been studying what actually works. What's the phenomena that makes human beings successful? From the time I was a kid, I was always curious, what makes people successful? Because sometimes it's really hard to see the pattern. And by being able to work with amazing people all over the world, I've done the exact same program. Of course, it's never the same because it's about interaction with people. Sure. But the same fundamentals have been taught in Beijing, in Barcelona, in Boston. And exactly the same piece, because it's not about culture, it's about human beings. So for me, the passion was, we've really got a situation in this world where people are so fast, they're not thinking, they really take people for granted. And what it does in my work around corporations and organizations, it's amazing how little we use the talents and capabilities of really great people. And all of a sudden we find a lot of conflicts. Sales is what everybody's doing, because when I say sales, I don't mean I'm doing something to you, which is how we mostly take it. But sales is really, how do I influence you, and how do I create the kind of relationship you want to be in with me, which really takes creating value. And, you know, I ask this question all over the world. If we agree that sales is a relationship business, we're all in relationship business, you know, what's the driving force of the most effective relationships? And after nobody ever answered the question the way I do, I decided it's time to write a book. You know what the answers typically are? What's the driving force, the universal driving force of the most effective relationships? They say trust, respect, understanding, communication, caring, listening. And I said, have you ever had those that didn't work? And of course, everybody goes, yes. Here's what I'd say. The universal driving force of the best relationships is creation of value. The more value, the better the relationship. And everybody does what you just did, Joyce, which is they go, yeah, everybody all over the world. Now I'm starting to get that message out, and people are starting to hear it beyond the people who hire me. And that's why I wanted to share the book with the world. It really is a revolution. And if we do sales differently, communication, influence, relationship, we will change the world.
Oh, and your concepts in the book, they're so basic, and I hope you take this well.
Yeah.
And when people say to me, Joyce, why didn't I think of this? Because it's so easy. Let's face it, if we all did what we know, Steve,
Right.
we would have all written a popular book and bestseller such as yourself.
Right.
So my question to you, since Communicate with Impact is all about communication and conflict, how are your ideas different in the sales situation, conflict situation, or a personal relationship?
Well, I think the most fundamental difference is so many people think, the one lesson you hear from people is like, how do I sell myself better?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the first thing I say is nobody wants to buy you. Why are you selling yourself when what people really want, and this goes for relationships because we're always selling ourselves in relationships.
Sure.
You know, they don't want to buy you. What they want to buy is what matters to them. Oh, by the way, most of the time they don't know what matters to them.
Yes.
So our job, the first order of business, to create the kind of trust and respect and start to create value from the very early stage of a relationship, of a communication, of an engagement of any sort, and particularly in sales, is to help the person get clear about what's really important to them. I always ask people, how many, all over the world, what percentage of the time is that very first request that somebody gives you exactly what's most important to them, ultimately most valuable and important? You know what the average is around the world? 10 to 20%. That means if you do exactly what somebody asks you for, whether it's a personal relationship, I need more time with you, not what they really want. They want something that they think more time will give them. If somebody says, I need a raise, and if you want me to stay here, it's not what they really want. I've had people give $25,000 raises, and they heard this principle. They go, oh my God, the guy still left anyway. You know, It's not really what they want. And our best job to create the kind of trust and respect and communication that we want, that leads to an extraordinary quality of relationship and engagement and creation of value, is for us to help that person get clear about what would really be valuable for them. And in doing that, we have the capability to transform the relationship, to elevate and to accelerate the delivery of value. But, you know, if we just do what people ask us to do, 80 to 90% of the time, we miss the opportunity to maximize value.
And what you're saying, and you tell me if I've got this right or not, is to go deeper and not talk to the person, but ask questions to make sure, why do you want to get the raise? What is it that we're really talking about? There's silence in this meeting, and everyone says they want trust and morale. Let's talk about it. So you're really saying, isn't that true? Going deeper and asking, I don't want to say the right questions, but how about questions?
No, that's actually questions, but let's talk about what kinds of questions. A lot of people are used to, you know, the old axiom, we need to probe more. I mean, the first thing I ask people, how many people like to be probed? You know, of course, it's the wrong assumption is what I need to do to you. I need to probe you. I need to close you. I mean, all these comments, I need to, you know, do what you asked so you'll believe me. You know, we need to change our thinking from what I'm going to do or I need to do to what it is that's going to bring us together. And the best way to do that, there's always a question you can ask no matter what your first request is. There's a universal question you can be asked in 50 different ways. But here's the fundamental question. People call me and say, I need sales training. I need leadership development. I need executive coaching. I need to get my executive team on the same page. All those things I do. My first question to them, and this is a question everybody can use in their own way, what are you trying to accomplish by doing that? So the question's important, but a powerful question. You know, it's like Mark Twain once said, you know, the difference between the right word and any word is like the difference between a lightning bug and lightning.
Yep.
So what we're looking for is the lightning here. And the lightning is, what are you actually trying to accomplish by going after that? Another way to do that with people, because so many people get stuck in the process, I have to have this. They're fixated. And the real key issue is to get them over that, you know, because until they get that, they can't really think freely. I always say, if you had that, in the best possible way, fully the way you imagine it, what would that give you? Because most of the time what they're asking for is a step on the path to something far more profound and powerful and valuable.
Absolutely. We come with a depth again. And what do you want to accomplish so many times? And I got this idea from your book. So if I sound brilliant, it's because of your words. What do you want to accomplish? So many times they don't know. Like you said, they're asking any of us, watching Steve, Joyce, or whoever's on this call right now, is people don't necessarily know what they want. So that question is so profound. And it's helping them really understand for themselves. It's not the leadership. It's not a team building. It's I'm sure a lot deeper than that.
Well, it's absolutely, there's some accomplishment. And again, the fact that many people have never thought through what they're really trying to accomplish is problematical, because a lot of times you do the work somebody asks you for, sometimes very complex projects, my clients. Yes. And at the end, the client's not happy. Now, who are they going to blame? Us as the experts that they hired? I did what you asked me to do. I did it on time, on budget, according to specifications. Yeah, but it didn't give me what I needed.
No.
What do I hire you for if you're an expert? And that's the key issue for so many experts. We're afraid to engage with people, whether it's a personal relationship or professional relationship, or a colleague or a team member or a boss. The ability to help somebody think clearer and deeper is one of the most profound contributions of immense value that we can give somebody. And you talked a little bit about common sense. I have an old axiom I created many, many years ago. Everybody knows the old 80-20 rule. I have a very different 80-20 rule, and it goes like this. 80% of success is common sense. Less than 20% of the people are using it. But, the key issue here is when common sense becomes common practice, profound results show up. So there's a difference between having common sense and having common practice.
And I'm going to take what you just said and give a case example that happened to me about 2 weeks ago. And because of your book, I saved myself and the prospect a lot of time. I got a phone call. We want a leadership program. And I said, well, what would you like to accomplish? And the person did say a few things. And then we talked about money. And he said, I have no idea what my budget is. And instead of, writing the proposal, like so many people who are listening or watching this right now, that's what we did in the past. I went, are you the right person? And he was not the right person. He wasn't the decision maker. And Steve, I actually said, until we know exactly what you want to accomplish or your boss wants to accomplish, and you know exactly not what the budget, but if you're willing to spend, and I gave him a range from here to here, depends on, is it going to be a keynote or is it going to be a consulting for a year? We parted ways. So that one question, what do you want to accomplish, started a very truthful conversation that could have wasted everybody's time.
That's really true. I mean, one of the key issues that you find so many times is that one of my key axioms in the book is price is never an issue unless the value is not clear.
Yes.
And the challenge of creating value for somebody who's not the decision maker is they probably have no idea what the value is.
No.
One of the examples I give, if somebody calls up and says, let's use your example, I need a leadership program. Mm-hmm. Great, we could do that for you. It's $5,000. Wow, that sounds like a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But let's do it this way. We need a leadership program. What are you trying to accomplish? We need our leadership team to be more productive. We need to have our organization be following them more. We've got to create greater profitability, and we've got to create greater momentum and speed to market. Okay, those are all good. Let's quantify what those are worth. Okay, productivity from your executive team. That could be worth a few hundreds of thousands of dollars. How about speed to market? If we could get our last 3 products to market in 20% less time, that could be, $1 million in sales. And if we could get our organization to be more productive and in line with our key priorities instead of spinning wheels and wasting time, that could also be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, so let's just look at this. Hundreds of thousands, 1 million, and more hundreds of thousands. I'll tell you what, we could put together a program to achieve those results that would cost you $250,000. wow, that sounds like a really good deal. It'll generate a couple of million.
Absolutely.
So context of value is everything. In a personal sense, the real key issue is somebody says, I need more time with you, or whatever the typical relationship complaint is. The real question is, what is it you're looking for? I don't feel heard. I want to be heard more. And I want to know that you've got my back when things are difficult. And I haven't been able to talk to you about some issues. So what you really want is you want to be able to talk to me about some issues. Let's set up a way for us to know that's your message. When you need to talk to me about an issue, we'll say this. Whew, we just solved a big problem. I haven't got any more time, but we've actually handled what really matters. And again, the context is so critical. What's the valuable outcome? Because that's what we're going to measure the investment by.
And that's why I wanted Steve to be part of Communicate with Impact, because this is so much deeper than selling. Like you were saying, Steve, we're selling ourselves all the time, ideas to the family, ideas to friends, obviously ideas to our boss, or if you're an entrepreneur, all of these ideas work for that. Now, I'd like to shift gears a little bit. In your humble opinion, what do you think, this is going to be just such a short answer, right? What is the greatest cause of miscommunication?
Well, I always say, and actually this is something that, having observed people all over the world, I have three. The single greatest cause of miscommunication, let's start with the first cause that we could all do something about. It's us. One of the things I always ask people is, what percentage of the time are you a highly effective communicator? I don't know anybody who's 100%. I wouldn't put myself in that category. So let's consider that some portion of the time we're not communicating effectively. The second question is the one that I asked earlier. It's them. So the first order of business, we're the first cause of miscommunication.
Hey, I don't like that answer.
Taking responsibility for the reality is always a good thing.
Okay, go on.
The second is them, and the question is, what percentage of the time is that first request directly connected to what's ultimately most important to them? And the answer as we go around the world is 10 to 20%. Even if somebody says 40 or 50%, we've had some people who say that, who knows, maybe they train their clients. Which 50 or 60% of the time are they not telling you what's most important? And how do you know whether you've got what's really most important? You've got to be able to really have the skills to facilitate that clarity. And the last one, which is just hilarious to do, and it's a real experience, is we put people in groups of 5. So the third cause of miscommunication is us and them together. So less people in groups of 5. A lot of times these are intact teams who've worked together for years on end. What are the first 5 things that come to mind when I give you a particular word? For ours would be communication.
Okay.
And then we see how many matches we have in this group of 5. And I'll tell you what, how many times out of maybe 1,500 groups, I'm rounding it up a little bit, we've had 5 matches where the 5 people who work together actually share the 5 same meanings to a word. It's never happened.
I was just going to say.
In fact, we've never had 4. We've never had 3. We have had 2. That's happened twice. 1,500 groups. It's really astounding when you get people in a room going, I work with you and I didn't have the same words as you at all. And then one match, one word they share in common, 14 times. How many times we've never had a single match of the words that I associate to communication and you associate and our colleagues associate? 1,484. So what does it mean? So let's say, 20 to 40% of the time we're the cause of problems. 80, 90% of the time people are not telling us what really matters. And 99+% of the time we don't understand what they really mean anyway. So what it means, and this is really what we're dealing with human beings, whether it's a sales business, it's a leadership business, it's a relationship business of any sort. So this is the reality, folks. This is really how it works. Go test it out yourself. But that means that it behooves us, and it gives us a huge opening to become a facilitator of what really matters to another person. It's the fastest way to really get to what matters. It's the fastest way to build trust and relationship. It's the fastest and most effective as well as ethical way to really get to what really matters. And when we get to that point, it builds relationship, it creates clarity, and more importantly, it creates a platform for us to work together in the massive creation and even multiplication of value. And that's where great relationships, great communication live.
And I can see from this, your one exercise that, by the way, listeners and viewers, that exercise happens to be in the Ultimate Sales Revolution. As I'm listening to you describe that exercise, something else that would happen too, in my opinion, is that the morale would improve. And because you'd start laughing with each other. Are you kidding me? You don't, I mean, it would be hopefully in a lighter way, but this is what I thought. You don't think that way? And that just starts the conversation. I don't mean in a judgment tone of voice. I'm like, shocking. This is what I thought of the word communication, and you thought this, and this. And no wonder why we're having, issues in this department. I mean, what great.
Sometimes it's not a problem. Sometimes it's just we're not as strong and well aligned in multiplying our capabilities together as best we can.
No.
What's really fascinating about that? Every time we do this, when we get to how many matches do you have? 5, 4, 3, 2. It's always nobody has that. I mean, I'm always shocked. We've had 2 matches twice. It's time for celebration. But when you get down to 0, it always creates a laugh, because there's something about when you get to what's really real, what's really fundamental. It's actually kind of funny when we actually experience this is the reality of our existence. This is the reality of our communication, our understanding with the people we work with all the time. This is also, I mean, you look at people married for a long time. I've been practicing for a long time myself. There's always opportunities to both enhance as well as diminish our capability to come together. And it's remarkable that when you love each other, we're not even talking about work, we're talking about personal relations. Mm-hmm. We love each other, we care about each other. I'm married to a fabulous person, I have amazing kids. And there's still opportunities for misunderstanding, miscommunication, misalignment. But it's our ability to recognize that I don't have to hold my position, that I want to find our commonality, where we really come together around what's most important to each of us, is where we elevate each other, mm-hmm. where we elevate the relationship, and where we enhance the communication. And it's a practice every human being has. The problem is none of us have been taught to do it. You know, as Henry Ford said once time, he said, the school of experience is the best one there is. However, by the time you graduate, you're too old, too tired, or too poor to do anything about it. It's, it's a great testimonial for education.
Right.
Most of us learn by trial and error. Mm-hmm. And we don't necessarily get the fundamental details and the fundamental principles of the lesson. So part of what I'm trying to share is these are the fundamental principles, and here's how you can work with them.
And Steve, I think this would be a great homework assignment for managers, directors, CEOs who are listening to our conversation to try this experiment at home first.
Yeah.
To do this experiment and see what happens
right.
with your kids, significant other, and then it'll probably blow you away. Maybe you were married 10 years, 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever, and say, wait a minute, we're not even on the same page here. Then you had a little experience here, then to obviously whether they hire you to do this or they, do this on their own. I think that would be a good, safe place. You want to add anything to this, or?
Well, no, I think just the real lesson here is understand what really goes on with people. I mean, all of us need to be communicating. All of us need to be in relationship. All of us need to be consistently getting better at it. And yet it's one of the things that almost nobody's taught.
Yeah.
I mean, you have all kinds of people teaching all kinds of things about it. I just remember when I first started my business, I went to Amazon. They didn't even have Amazon when I started my business. Let me start that. Mm-hmm. But early on at Amazon, I put the word leadership into Amazon. I came up with 7,300 titles. The last time I did it, which was last year, I had over 19,000 titles.
Wow.
So there's a lot of content out there. But as I like to say, and I don't encourage book burning, but if you burn 99% of them, we wouldn't have lost anything.
Yeah.
People are putting out too much stuff. And for me, what I'm interested in and what I wanted to share with people, and the reason I really took the time and effort to write a book, I much prefer talking and coaching and facilitating to writing. But I just felt it was really important to give people access to the core principles that will make a huge difference in their ability to communicate, to build high-quality relationships. Most important to me in the kind of work that I do, create a multiplier effect when we bring people together using their highest and their best rather than me trying to do something to you. When we all come together from a sense of contribution of our best capabilities and talents versus I want you to do this, we're going to create a multiplier effect that doesn't exist in too many organizations today. And that's one of the things I spend my time trying to really help people with.
And your concepts help whether people are getting along well, whether it's home or in the workplace, or if there's conflict. I mean, it doesn't, even if you think you're getting along and the team is going well and the productivity is excellent, and yay, this could take you, elevate you to a whole higher level to do some of these concepts. Now, first of all, would you be willing to be a guest again in the future so we can even cover more of your book?
The answer is, let me think about it. Yes.
Oh God, this was a risk that I asked you, right? Because you could have said no, but I think there's more that we could talk about that we didn't get a chance to. Right. Now, how can people find you, Steve, and let them know what they could find on your website or anything Absolutely. About you, please?
So my company's called Optimize International. You can find us on the web at optimizeintl.com. We're trying to keep it as short as we can. Optimizeintl.com. You can reach me at Steve at optimizeintl.com. You can also go to Amazon and find the book there. The book's got our contact information, my phone number. If you want to reach out by phone, it's 978-369-4525, 978-369-4525. But I really encourage people to get the book. You can get an audio book, you can get a digital book.
Oh, great.
But I'll tell you what, each chapter is detailed in the table of contents, so you can find really specific pieces. And I really encourage, pick up. I wrote it so that it's highly useful, both for framing how to think about communication and relationship, but also how to practice it.
And I'm going to tell you, I wasn't necessarily going to share this, but I'm going to let you know. If I enjoy a book, I take notes, because that's how that's what I do.
Me too.
These are the notes from Steve's book, The Ultimate Sales Revolution. And please, I hope that there's trust here with my readers and my listeners and viewers. That really is right here. Well, this is Joyce Weiss, and I'm thanking Steve Lishansky for being our guest today. And until next time, remember, you get what you tolerate.